Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our Whole Baby Love Weekly Tidbit Breastfeeding Support series. Today, I will be talking about signs of a good or poor feeding. So just a quick basic guideline for the first few weeks. With wet diapers, you want to see 6+ per day, stools 3+ per day, and feedings at least 8 times and according to baby's cues for the first 2 to 3 months. So of course, that is depending on obviously any sort of suggestions stated by your healthcare provider. There are certain situations, of course, like if you have an early baby and they're on a strict feeding schedule and different things like that, that you would be feeding them more often necessarily than their cues, then that might be different. And of course, when we're comparing breastfed babies to babies that are supplementing, things like stools would definitely could look differently as well. So, but we do want to make sure that we have wet diapers. So just a nice visual here of a good latch versus a bad latch or a poor latch. So on the right there, you can see a deep latch. So that's your good latch there. We compare the baby's lips to like fishy lips. You can see that they're wide open, very easy to see. Where with a shallow latch, you can really tell usually that it's a shallow latch. So you can still see most of the nipple. And you can see the example there. Another good visual for a correct latch. So signs of a good feeding: feeling a deep, strong pull sensation without sharp pain. You should really never feel pain when you have a proper latch. Consistent sucking with only brief pauses. And you can notice that they're kind of just keeping up a rhythm. Hearing swallowing, so after the milk comes in, of course, the first few days you're dealing with colostrum. That's the sticky substance that first comes out before they feed. It does sometimes take, a couple of days for our milk to come in, but when it does, you will be hearing the swallowing. You can hear it. So vigorous sucking at the breast. Breasts are softer after a feeding. Seeing milk in the baby's mouth is a good visual. You can feel the let down reflex. There's adequate wet diapers and stools, so keeping up to that example that we gave at the beginning of the video. Minimal weight loss. And baby regains that birth weight by 2 weeks and gain 3/4 to 1 ounce daily thereafter. So going into signs of a poor feeding. So the picture there, I thought it gave a little bit of a better visual of maybe what a shallower latch may look like. When they get older, sometimes our babies can tend to almost like play around with the nipple. That kind of reminds me of that look when they're almost kind of being like silly with the interaction with the boob, and it's a little bit of a shallower latch, which could happen. So signs of a poor feeding: feeling pain during feeding. So like I was saying before, you should never feel pain for feeding. So if you're starting to, like if you're noticing like chapping, or if it's a bad latch, which we'll talk a little bit about in a few minutes, that makes that pain, that should never happen. If you have this little sleepy baby, so when you first bring baby home, or when you're in the hospital, or doing those scheduled feedings for a little while, they want to make sure that babe's not lethargic while they're on the boob. They can be sleepy, so you're kind of like making sure that you're waking them up in those early feedings. Inconsistent flutter, or like a weak sucking, so it's inconsistent. So clicking or popping sounds in your baby's mouth. This is a very common, clear sign that the latch is too shallow, because they don't have the nipple really deep within their mouth. This could also be if you're having trouble with like a tongue tie or a lip tie. Sometimes it might be difficult for your baby to get a proper latch. So if that seems to be a thing that is really proceeding and that you're having trouble with, make sure that you bring that attention to your healthcare provider. So prolonged nursing, so that's more than your 20 to 25 minutes on each side. Infrequent nursing, so baby does not wake up for those like 3-hour feedings, and it has to be at least that's the 3 hours. Inadequate wet diapers and stools. So if you're really noticing a less amount, that means that baby's not getting that milk for whatever reason. Rapid or excessive weight loss. So obviously, those main signs like no wet diapers, you can tell that there's no real intake coming in, which will result in weight loss, of course. And if baby has not regained birth weight by 2 weeks, and very slow in weight gain after. Thank you very much for joining us for this really quick, breastfeeding tidbit. Of course, overall, it's always best to make sure that you, if you are having difficulty, that you reach out to your healthcare provider and or also like a lactation specialist, somebody who can support you in your breastfeeding if you are showing signs of these problems. And I'll link some different breastfeeding support down below, local to our area in Winnipeg and Manitoba. And you guys have a great day.